Welcome to this episode of Breck Buzz. I'm Rick Holman, your Assistant Town Manager, filling in today for Tim Gagan. Joining me today is our Mayor Pro Tem, Jennifer McAtamney, and Councilman Ben Brewer. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So it's been a busy month at the town, and several things that the council's been spending a lot of time talking about. And the first thing I would like to discuss today is the water plant study that we've been doing. And obviously this has been something that's been a lot of discussion, but recently the study was completed by our consultant, and we've posted that on the website. So Jen, maybe you could tell us a little more about what the public can expect from this point forward.
Well, first I think I'll just backtrack a little bit and let people know we've been actually talking about the water plant and the possibilities of what it is that we want to do to preserve and retain and make best use of our water rights and make sure we have enough water for the future for a couple of years. So what the action the council took quite some time ago was to commission a water study to figure out what it would take to build a second water plant. We have one water plant, the Gary Roberts water plant, which is up below the Tarn, and that creates a couple of issues for us. One, it's a fairly aging plant at this point, and second of all, we don't have any redundancy. And with build out, we're also, based on the study that we will be talking about with the community, we see that we're really at the point where we need to start considering some, not just the redundancy, but the expansion. So we engaged water experts to basically look at all of this, and recently we've released the full study, which is a couple hundred pages long and very, very technical, which is available on our website. There's also an executive summary, but really we want to start engaging the Breckenridge community, and actually the community of the Upper Blue, because there are people who don't live in town who also benefit from town water into this. So we are looking to do a big outreach process like we've done with Sustainable Breck, with our community visioning plan. And this is really about the future, and we hope people will get involved. You can go on our website right now and you can access the documents. That will connect you over to Engage Breck, where you'll have opportunities to leave comments about this project. We'll have public open houses, and this is going to be, this is not a quick thing, right? Because even if we started today and had approved it, we would not have water online until after 2020. So this is something that's going to be, this is really looking long-term towards the future, and we really want the public to, pay attention and give us the input we want, give us input about what they think about it, what they think about expanding the water system, to allow people who are on wells to be part of it. It's very expensive. The good news for all of these kind of water projects is there's lots of great funding mechanisms for them. Plus, you have an ongoing revenue stream based on the users of the system to continue to make sure that you pay that financing back. So this is something that we've been looking at for a long time and will continue to. And we really hope that people use those tools like the town website at townofbreck.com and engage Breckenridge, and use the opportunity to find out more about it. Look in the paper. Notices will be published there in regards to public forums as they come up, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for input and education. I mean, really, the first thing this is going to happen is education. So
certainly much more to come.
Certainly much more to come on this topic.
Yes.
Well, and that'll dovetail to something we'll probably talk about later on, which is beginning to have conversations not just about how we're going to make sure we have clean water, but how we make sure that our community is appreciating the resource that it is. But I see that's on your list later on, so we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Thank you. And Ben, maybe you could take a few minutes and talk to us about the Breckenridge Nordic Center and their new lodge, which opened just right before Christmas or right after Christmas. They got their CO to open that beautiful new facility up there, and now that they've been operating in that new lodge for a few months, they've come to the town with some requests for that.
Yeah, and so it was really a joint project between the Dayton family that owns the Breckenridge Nordic Center and the town of Breckenridge. The town of Breckenridge basically financed the project, but they did everything else. So it was an incredible sort of joint effort between the town and the Breck Nordic Center. And I think every single person that I've spoken with, we're all unanimous that it's a beautiful facility. You walk in there and it really suits the use as a Nordic center, and it's the perfect place for people to go and experience Nordic skiing, and I think everybody's very happy with it. So you walk in, it's a beautiful log structure, huge, big, high vaulted ceilings. There's now a kitchen there. There's even garage space underneath the facility for snowcats and snow machinery and snowmaking equipment, things like that. So it's a facility that's much more suited to the numbers of people who use it than the facility that it replaced. Yeah. And so the Breckenridge Nordic Center came to us and asked if they could do events there. And you would think that would be a no-brainer, simple request, because it's such a perfect facility. And of course it is something that we all want to accommodate. I guess the complication arises when you start to think about the sizes of groups that could potentially use the space, say for a big wedding or something like that. Those are complicated events that involve lots and lots of people. And the Nordic Center is right next to Cucumber Gulch. And some months of the summer, Cucumber Gulch is closed. And so how do you balance the use of the facility with preserving Cucumber Gulch and making those events scale to the size of the facility that it is, in terms of parking and traffic and also the residential neighborhoods that are nearby? So I think we did a pretty good job. We had a long discussion about what sort of limits and box can we put around the events that are held there to make them work with the Gulch and make them work with the residential neighborhood, and also make it work for the Nordic Center. And so I think we did a pretty good job. I think there will be a 1-year period in which we're going to try, the system that we've come up with and see how it works, and then we'll reevaluate it. And if it caused any problems, then we can address those. And if it didn't, then that's great, and we can continue on into the future doing lots of events there. I know that there was a Eagle Scout ceremony there recently that a lot of locals attended, and everybody raved about the facility and the event. And
it's such a neat building. I love the idea that they saved all those old spruce trees that were cut down as part of the gondola construction. I think when you are in there, the feel of it, it feels like Breckenridge. It feels like home. There's a lot of love there, and that's why I think people are going to be interested in using it for events. But events are the right size, right? So size to the building, size to the parking lot, and and clearly the Dayton family is right on board with that. But I love it's truly a labor of love for them, that building is, and being in that Gulch area, and even though it's all on town-owned land, right? It's been a fabulous public-private partnership with them for years. So
it's probably worth noting that the reason the council is even involved in this decision is because it is town-owned land, and the council issues the licensing agreement that allows them to operate as a Nordic Center. So when it states right in there in that agreement that if they expand those uses, and certainly we want to minimize the impact in the neighborhood,
and to the neighbors around it, because it is a residential neighborhood. So.
Well, the wildlife in Cucumber Gulch is something that the town has spent years, decades really, preserving and maintaining, and so that's why it was a little bit sticky, just to make sure that the events don't get too big and they don't get too loud. That's really the issue. So if there's a wedding there, it'll be just contained within the facility itself. There won't be outdoor tents and things like that, or at least that's what we discussed.
Yeah. And the parking has to be on site. It can't have any overflow. And that's stuff, I think, all to respect the place where it is. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah. I think it worked for everybody. The Dayton seemed happy. BOSAC seemed happy. The town council seemed happy. And let's just go with it for the next year, see how it works, and then make adjustments as needed.
Yep.
Yeah, give it a trial run.
Yep,
see what
that's
happens
right.
There. Yeah. So Breckenridge is a gold level bicycle community, and we have lots of obviously great amenities that cater to bicyclists, and of course there's the USA Pro Cycling Challenge that have been a part of every year that it's been in Colorado, and fortunately this year we have one more bicycle activity coming back to Breckenridge.
This to me just completely validates the conversation we had a few years back when we initially approached the Pro Cycle Challenge, right? We said, if we want to do this event, one of the reasons for doing it is to build our brand as a place for biking. And we know as locals, it's a fabulous place, not just for mountain biking, but you're kind of at a jumping off point for all kinds of great road rides too. And this summer, not only do we get the finish of Stage 5 of the Pro Cycle Challenge, but Ride the Rockies is coming to town. And not only are they coming in town, now they've come through town many times before, they've finished in town, but this is the first time that I can remember where they've actually camped in town. So we will be seeing them, I think, Thursday?
June 12th.
June 12th in... right in town. They'll be camping and using the Kingdom Park for the outdoor camping. There'll be additional camping inside the rec center. And this is pretty unusual because, as people may or may not know, there's no camping allowed in the town. And so in order for that to happen, that really takes the action of the town management, the town approval of the town council. Last time we approved it for a few tents for the Volunteers of Colorado out by the Stevens D. West Ice Arena for some trail building we were doing. So this is a really big deal. And one of the reasons that the council really backed this heavily was because we also spoke to the lodging community, and they are delighted about it. They get a bunch of rooms nights out of this too, because as it turns out, the participants in Ride the Rockies are somewhat split. Some of them stay in hotels and some of them do the camping thing. So it's going to be a great night, and it's going to be a great week in town, because we'll have Ride the Rockies arriving in town on Thursday night. There'll be a concert at the Riverwalk as part of that, and that'll be a lot of fun. Friday, we'll have Town Party.
Next night.
And then Saturday and Sunday, it's Kingdom Days. And one of my favorites of the summer is the Outhouse races will be that Sunday. So it's going to be what an unbelievable way for us to kick off our summer. So we're real excited about that.
And I get calls from all over the state sometimes, clients of mine wondering where they should stay in Breckenridge. And I've already gotten several calls from people who are wondering where they can stay during Ride the Rockies. So I think it's a fascinating thing, and if you need to get lodging for Ride the Rockies, you should do it soon. And those it's not just the riders, it's all of their support. Their families sometimes follow them through Colorado, and they need lodging, and all these people. It just brings a great energy to town. It infuses Breckenridge with a lot of great biking energy from all over the state.
And it's something that it aligns really nicely with all of our efforts always to expand those shoulder seasons. And so, we really consider that part of June part of our shoulder season, still really before summer has really jump started. So this is a fabulous economic driver for the community too. And, like I said, just continues to build our reputation as a great place for biking. So it's awesome.
It's going to help kick off an exciting summer for us.
It is. We're going to have a big one.
It's going to be great.
Many of our viewers that watch Breck Buzz know that there's a lot of projects the town has going on, and a lot of great things we're doing. And so maybe we could spend a few minutes and highlight some of those bigger projects and kind of what the progress is on those. And Ben, maybe you could start talking about the Breckenridge Grand Vacations Community Center.
Oh, you bet. So the old CMC building on Harris Street is what we used to call it. Now it's the Grand Vacations Community Center. It's probably one of the coolest, most epic projects that we've ever undertaken. And it's going to result in one of the neatest assets that Breckenridge will be able to boast. I mean, it's the largest historic renovation project that we've ever undertaken. So we're taking in 1909 brick building and renovating it into the Summit County Library branch, the Breckenridge branch of the Summit County Library, and the South Branch. And we could not be more thrilled that this project, how it was conceived and how it's going, it all seems to be great. So we're excited. We're looking at occupying the building sometime in October of 2014. and you know how construction projects go. It could be November, but we're really gunning for October of 2014, and we can't wait. So it's a community center. We've got the South Branch of the county library is going there, and we will have I think 3 nonprofits in addition to the Speakeasy Theater. And something that the town council insisted on was a coffee shop downstairs. So you're going to have, you know, the offices for 3 great nonprofits. You can have the Speakeasy and a coffee shop in addition to the library, and we're hoping that will create the nucleus for a center in the middle of our town where people will use and that you know, everyone will enjoy. I know that I would really enjoy you know, taking my son there to study and do his homework in the evenings, you know, check out a book and get a cup of coffee during the day. I can't wait. I think it's going to be it's going to be sort of the crown jewel of Breckenridge architecture. It already is. It's just that it needed to be restored, and we're finally undertaking that.
Need a little buff and polish. And don't forget, there is going to be a fabulous community room that will be available for rent down there that will have AV equipment and tables and chairs and all the things that you need. And it's so funny because right now with Town Hall under construction or under renovation, meeting space in the town is at a premium. I had to plan a couple of meetings this month, and my usual go-to spots were all used up because you know, all the town staff is having to meet outside of Town Hall these days because there's just lots of noise and lots of dust there, and no tables left in the conference room. So,
well, and the council and the county together have put a lot of time and thought into. It's a part of this greater amenity package that we're building in the town, and it certainly has a close relationship to the Arts District that we're working on. But we look at things like the Speakeasy Theater and those community rooms. They were designed in such a way that they can work independently or they can work together to support larger functions, whether it's a festival of film activities, and you know that they're connected in such a way. So there's great opportunities with that.
And I just, you know, this is one of those projects that, you know, coming to the end of my term of council, like I'm so proud that we had the foresight, you know, years ago to put the offer on the table to CMC to bring them as the college here in the community and do the land deal that we did with them out on Airport Road, and in exchange be able to purchase that building and preserve it for the long term, for the use of the community at large. And I think it is, like Ben said, it is a gem for us. So, and you know, we're even working out all the logistics now too, right?
Yeah, we are, and you know, I want to jump into that, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about the Arts District. But you know, the council is currently looking at, and at this next meeting, you're going to be, you know, trying to adopt a plan, a lease agreement with the county.
That's right. Well, this is the first time this is a 99-year lease agreement that we're entering with the county, and based on the MOU that we created with them when we first conceived this public-private partnership, we had divided up the library 65-35, so the town will handle 65% of the expenses and the maintenance. The county handles 35%. But you know, I thought it was really brilliant on the staff's part, both from the town and the county, to not try to put all of the rules and regulations and how everything's going to be worked out in the lease, a 99-year lease. How are you possibly going to anticipate everything you're going to need to do? So they created this great operations plan, I think it was called. And maybe I'm wrong about that. It was the operations plan. And so, and in that document, it's more of a living document that can be reviewed annually. You know, that's where we're going to handle the things like who changes the light bulb, how does the parking lot get plowed, how do we manage the parking, and all those sort of esoteric details that, you know, that need to be done to make the building function. Also in regards to how the reservations will happen for the community room. So to make sure, you know, that was a big thing as part of the library renovation, was to have a community space there. They use it for, you know, Summit Reads and for the kids book program, although they are going to have an unbelievable children's area in that library too, which I think is so exciting. So we're going to have this great community room, and we've hashed out a lot of those details, but we'll have the opportunity to refine them as things go into practice. So we got to look at that last week, and because the council's job is we have to approve any leases more than, was it 5 years?
Anything longer than a year.
Anything longer than a year. So typically we see those they're more in that 5 or 10 year term, but this one's a 99-year lease. So we'll be approving that hopefully at our next meeting.
And one final thing I would like to make sure our viewers hear before we get off on the community center library is that it's important for the town and the county to make sure that we're really looking at how we're going to be programming and using that space. And so we're organizing a public forum on April the 9th that will be held at the Riverwalk Center. And we're going to invite the public to really learn and understand how those current uses and spaces are planned and being constructed, but we want to get the public's input on what some of those best practices or best uses might be. So, because we get one shot at this building.
That's right.
And so I would like to encourage people to come out and take part in that on April the 9th. But right now we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more Breck Buzz. Welcome back to Breck Buzz. Before we left for break, we were talking about town projects and our progress on certain projects in town. Ben, you want to talk a little bit about the Arts District and what's happening in that area?
Once again, it's another great project. It was conceived of a long time ago.
2005, the master plan got adopted.
2005.
Yep.
And at that time, the town council adopted a 15-year plan for build out. So this town council accelerated that. And so all the construction there next to the Breckenridge Backstage Theater, between there and the tin shop, in that general area. I know that people have seen a lot of construction there, so we're building all these amazing facilities that will become the nucleus of our arts district. And the arts district is intended to enrich everybody's experience in Breckenridge. And so if you're a visitor to Breckenridge and you don't feel like skiing that day, you can take a ceramics class and throw a pot. Or you can learn how to metalsmith, or you can learn how to paint, or do digital arts, or take in a theater production, or do any one of a whole slew of different things that'll be available there. And really the town council, we decided to fast track the infrastructure for a couple different reasons. One, it would enable all these things to happen sooner, and two, we were in the position to do that. We took a close look at the financial pro forma going forward into the future, and we made the decision that we can do it, and so why don't we do it? It's already a priority that was set by previous councils, and so all we're doing is fast tracking that.
Right, and there's savings to be had by doing it all at once and not continuing to disrupt that site with construction year after year. I mean, right now we've got the Burrow Barn, which is going to be public restrooms. We've got a brand new ceramics building. We got the Michaelitis Barn, which is being put back together now, which is an old historic structure that'll be for, I think, caustic painting. We have a metalsmithing building that'll be that's being constructed, and the Robert White House got a foundation and is going to get all the historic restoration it deserves. So it's just, we're going to have a beautiful parking lot there too that'll be paved. Everybody remembers the Barney Ford lot being that dirt lot that was kind of messy and inefficient. So that's going to have opportunity. Not only is it going to be paved and landscaped, but they've done some really neat things providing tie downs for tents so that that plaza can be used for events like it has been over the last few years for the Arts District and things on Ridge Street. And one of my favorite new additions is the Uller Throne, that if you've had a chance to walk by on that upper southeast east or southwest corner, you'll see a stone, built really large South Canyon stone, much like the stone you see at the Riverwalk and around town. They found this great thing that actually looked like a throne, so they stuck it there, and it gives you a fabulous backdrop, much like this beautiful picture behind us. But it's just a natural place to take a photo, and we got a local artist is carving and enhancing that throne right now. The seat's carved out. There's like a little uller on it now. He's got a big pole with some pendants hanging above it. So it's really just a nice extra little whimsical touch up there that, I don't know, that's a nice little finishing touch up there. So I think this is just so exciting for me. I think having the opportunity to be more than just a ski town and a recreation town, but appreciate the arts and give our visitors a chance to participate in classes, meet artists. I mean, what's great, there's couple live work studios that'll be part of this space. And it just really hits on yet another dynamic of Breckenridge that, I think this is a place that attracts people who love beauty and the beauty of our natural environment. And some people want to use their creative expressions to through pottery and painting and stuff like this, and this is a perfect campus to do it on.
And I think it's worth saying that long ago, I think people involved in the town had this vision that we've always had this north-south axis to our town, which is Main Street, but we've never really successfully developed an east-west axis, and this is really developing into an east-west axis, which will sort of draw people up into the sort of the core of Breckenridge and the architectural core. So if you think of the Riverwalk Plaza and the Welcome Center as sort of the westernmost end of the east-west axis.
Even the Riverwalk itself.
And the Riverwalk itself, thank you. And then all the way up to the Harris Street building is sort of what we've envisioned. The Arts District is right along that corridor, and for someone exploring and discovering Breckenridge for the first time, to have them walk down Main Street and then kind of wander up Washington and experience that east-west axis, I think in the future is going to be really thought of as a great thing for Breckenridge. A lot of public buildings, a lot of beautiful architecture, a lot of arts-related facilities, a lot of public facilities, and I just can't wait for that vision to sort of come to fruition.
Well, and I think that the acquisition by the council this year of the Abbey Hall building, the old Masonic Lodge, is just key to make, that's sort of the last piece of the puzzle, right? That a common phrase heard around council chambers, but in this case it really was. It was a key piece in really moving that vision forward and creating that continuity from the Riverwalk through the plaza up Washington and like you said, all the way to the Harris Street / Breck Grand Vacations Community Center building.
Right.
So it's quite the mouthful. So this is just one of those things, once again, another project that we just keep plugging away at, and so much for our community to be proud of. So
yeah, and Abbey Hall, thanks for mentioning that, because it really is sort of it's almost like the keystone for that east-west axis, and the town council did approve a really nice renovation of that building. So it's going to
full historic restoration,
foundation, everything. In fact, we found pictures. The previous owner did all the historic research, and we found pictures of those windows fronting on Main Street, going all the way down to the ground.
Full plate windows.
And so it was the Masons, I guess, who took over the building at some point and sort of blocked those windows in. Well, prior to the Masons, it was a storefront with windows all the way to the ground. And so I think the architect that has been working on it knows about that and is going to try to incorporate that into the design. And what's been envisioned for that is a dance studio upstairs, and much of the rest of the building is still yet to be sort of programmed or decided, but it's going to be beautiful. And there will be a sort of a almost like a plaza behind for events, almost a whole other space certainly for summer events, and a catering kitchen back there that'll serve the whole Arts District, properly with, for food and the events that we like to do there. Mm-hmm. And the way it was designed, I think, is great because it just draws you right into the Arts District. Mm-hmm. Just the building itself and the
you're going to go from there to the Fuqua, which is a fabulous
livery
building.
Stable, so. Yeah. I can't say enough about the Arts District and all of those projects. They're all working together, and we're going to find a synergy that is right in the center of town, which is just going to be phenomenal.
The Arts District is one of those projects where, people continually come up to me on the street or at a coffee shop saying, I just love what you guys are doing there. I'm so glad that you're getting it done all at once, and thanks for the vision and foresight to do that. And I took the council. It was a good discussion. Like you said, we were really careful financially. We spent months analyzing that stuff, and then decided what we had in terms of discretionary things to do some big capital projects to make the community a better place to visit and a better place to live.
And what's exciting, with the exception of the Masonic Hall, is that these things we've been talking about are going to be done all around the same time.
Yep.
And
August, yeah.
Yeah, well, it probably has been said closer to October on some of these things, and what's going to happen. But certainly we're looking at, what kind of a grand celebration. We're already thinking about what's going to be coming in the fall when all of these exciting things open. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that's good.
Jen, earlier you touched on water.
Yep.
And our water plant. And so one of the council's 2014 goals for this year is water conservation.
That's right. As part of our retreat last year, our spring retreat, we all read The Blue Revolution, which is a book about creating a water ethic in a community or in a country. And, I'm a big fan of water. I'm from Minnesota, lots of lakes there. And it wasn't until I moved to the West that I had a much greater appreciation for water. I moved here, especially there was a drought shortly thereafter, and saw the impacts of the arid West, and really started to learn a lot more about that really precious resource. And I think what they point out in the Blue Revolution, I think what the council has really decided is, this is an incredible resource. It's probably going to be something that in our lifetimes and our children's lifetimes is going to be the kind of thing that people go to war over, which is sad. And so it's really important for us as a state, and really for us as a community here at the headwaters of the Colorado River to take it really seriously. And one of the things the council realized after reading that book and having lots of discussions about our water rate structure is that and actually all across the United States, water is really inexpensive. Especially when you look at in terms of what it costs for the infrastructure and for the processing to make it safe to drink. And so we'd really like to raise people's awareness about the preciousness and the importance of this resource. And one of the ways that, and why it's important for us, even though we live in the place where all the water for the western slope and the east slope comes from, we store it here all winter and then we let it down our rivers, that we really want people to appreciate it better and start to really look at a conservation ethic for our community and creating a water ethic. And one of the ways that's going to happen is we're going to spend a bunch of time looking at our rate structures, not only to make sure that people are making good decisions about appliances that they're installing, how they're watering their lawns, but also how we're going to, in the future, fund that second water plant. So one of the first steps I think the council has been looking at taking is, right now we don't have any water restrictions at any time other than in the 8 years I've been on council, one summer we had watering restrictions that started in July and ended in August. And the watering restrictions that we have are real common sense ones and ones that I think the council as a body felt as a consensus was probably something that made sense to be doing all the time. So one of the things we're looking at, we'll be putting in place permanent watering restrictions that will dictate based on where you live, east side of town, west side of town, what days of the week you water. And we're going to be reaching out to the community though for some of the stuff. We really want to talk to businesses about washing sidewalks and hard surfaces and how they feel about that kind of stuff, to make sure that it's not going to be punitive, and we're going to be able to keep the town looking nice, but do it in a way that we're being smart about it. In our typical drought watering restrictions, it was interesting. One of the things is that restaurants cannot serve water unless you ask for it, and that became actually one of the points that the council wasn't very comfortable with. Being here at altitude where hydration is so important, we didn't want to put our restaurants in a situation where, especially if you're serving alcohol, you really should be serving water with it. That's encouraged through the TIPS program. So we took that out. So anything we'd be looking at, restaurants will be able to serve people water as whatever their normal process is, but we will be asking people to limit it, and we'll use the structure so if you break the rules, and we'll use that as an opportunity to educate you about what the proper policies are. And also, there's just good sense about those watering policies, to help support really good root growth for your grass and for your trees. Everyday watering isn't necessarily the best way to do that. More deeper, less frequent watering actually promotes better growth and better root structures for trees and shrubs and grasses. And so I think this is a great opportunity, one, to encourage conservation, but also help people see that there are better habits and better ways, better practices for doing that kind of stuff. And then we're going to jump into the rate structure and further conservation ideas and policies, hopefully, to drive that, so that we can become an example for the rest of people in the state about what water use should look like in the future. So we need to be the leaders, since we're here at the top and have some of the most senior water rights in the state.
And the council did approve, as part of the town's budget this year, that we are going to bring in a irrigation consultant and do a complete audit on our exterior irrigations, because we know that is just where such a loss occurs.
Exactly. Well, and I think the other thing that's super important is, one, the town's going to walk its own walk, with the exceptions, I think, of some of our ball fields and that kind of stuff. At the golf course, they're always looking at water conservation, and they'll be redoing that whole irrigation system at that point in time. That'll be, I think, a really important thing. There was one other thing that I wanted to say about that, but maybe you got it.
Oh, well, one of the things we learned by just looking at what would happen if we made our main ball field, AstroTurf, how much water would we save? And the answer came back 4 million gallons a year. And so if that gives you any indicator, one soccer field uses 4 million gallons of water in a year. Our water treatment facility only processes 3 million gallons per day, I think it, on average.
Right.
And so, the two discussions, water conservation and the need for a new water treatment facility, really are related.
Yeah.
Because, while our water consumption as a community actually has gone down in recent years, we're, on the whole, of course, using more because there's more people. So, the water consumption per person has gone down, but because we've grown so much, overall water consumption has gone up to the point where now we're looking at needing another facility by 2022. Yeah. And if we were to start building it today, it would be completed in 2020.
Right.
So we only
and we
really
can't
have
start today.
We can't start today. So we really only have 2 years to figure that one out. But water conservation, the more water we conserve, then the more we can stretch out that timeline. That's right. And so we're actually saving ourselves a lot of money by conserving water. And so some of the common sense things that are in the proposal are things like watering irrigation only 3 times a week.
Exactly.
Not wasting water, spraying off your driveway. Real common sense things that most people won't even notice.
Exactly. But real simple things to do too. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think that, we're talking to you about looking at our building code and what do they call it? Water sense fixtures. And we're looking at installing those in the town hall remodel and other buildings that we're doing. So, you know, these are things, and, you know, this is not just a conversation here in our community. This is happening down at the state capitol as well. I mean, because this is what Colorado's a big player in the water game in the West, and so it's going to continue to be an important thing. And I really suggest that people check out the Blue Revolution and the Cadillac Desert, and you know those books that talk about water and why the conundrum of it here in the West, because we have these huge populations and we rely on snowfall to provide our water, and so in years of drought it really doesn't work as well. So
yeah, and it's important to realize that while we're having a record snowfall year, the rest of the West is still in an incredible drought, unbelievable drought.
Yeah.
You know, Lake Mead is almost empty, or it's actually Lake Mead is almost to the point where it's the level is below the intake, and so they're working really hard to either create another intake lower than the level, or they won't have water.
Yeah. Or won't have energy too.
Or energy.
Yeah.
So it's really an intractable problem. It's something that's going to be present in all of our lives going forward into the future, and so we have to deal with it. And so we're I think
better be at the forefront of it, right?
Yeah, and I think we are really taking the leadership role in trying to forge a water ethic, and also just be aware of the effect of wasting water. And
oh, I remembered what the last thing I wanted to say. One of the things too that will go along with our water conservation and these restrictions will be enhanced billing that we'll be looking at. So if we can provide the information for people like they have on your Excel bill, how much you use, you know, not necessarily the same parallels, but the same idea that you're going to have more information than here's the amount I used. You know, and for people out there who are curious about their water use, or you know, get a water bill that they're curious about, all you have to do is call Town Hall, and they can produce all kinds of data for you to show you your year-over-year use. And it's really useful. At our house, we found that we had a leak in our irrigation system that was underground, and it was because Kathy and the folks over at Town Hall were able to send that to me so I could look year over year, and said, oh, something's going on here.
And most people now, if you do get an email with your water bill, which is a service that's available, there is a link there that you can click to get more information. It's just that it's not very user-friendly right now, and we're trying to streamline that and make it much more clear exactly how much water you're using and how much you're paying for it. We feel that water in our town is incredibly inexpensive, and it really is. I mean, most people don't even realize, you know, how much water they're using. So I think it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
Well, thank you. And before we end this segment, I think we need to note that obviously April 1st we have an election coming up, and we're seeing a lot of things in the paper, and we're hearing about different forum activities going on, and a lot of the communities have seats open on their council. Breckenridge is going to have 3 seats open.
That's right.
And Jen, you're term limited, so
this is my swan song on Breck Buzz.
Yes. But we certainly want to take this opportunity on Breck Buzz to thank you for your 8 years on the council.
Well,
and
it has
8
been
fabulous, hard-working, really good years of service.
It has been a labor of love, and it has been a pleasure to serve with all the councils and serve the people of the town and the Upper Blue Basin. I really believe that we serve them as well. And thanks. It's been
we've
great.
done some great things.
Yeah, we've done some great stuff. So.
And that's all for today's episode of Breck Buzz. We want to thank you for joining us, and we'll be back with a new episode next month.